Finishes and factions, catching action.
Go. And welcome to the second night of WrestleMania 41 with us, finishers and factions, with myself, Rich, and as always when we get the opportunity, my co-host, Adam. Adam, WrestleMania Night 2, buddy. Let's go.
WrestleMania Night 2, and what a night it is.
Ooh.
We've got such a card ahead of us. I'm genuinely more gassed than I was for WrestleMania Night 1.
Yeah, straight away, 100% more gassed. And we get to see our opening ceremonies done by, none other than Stephanie McMahon. It's always nice to see Steffi come back to the WWE. Even if she's not in a massively active role, it's always nice to see her make her presence felt. Kind of feel sometimes we miss the McMahon, miss having a McMahon around.
I was going to say, it's that she's like the last McMahon standing.
Well, yeah, I don't even think... I'm not even sure what Shane's up to these days. We know Vince doesn't have anything to do with pro wrestling anymore.
Well, unless the rumours are to be believed.
Oh, I mean, if Vince McMahon pops up with another promotion after all that malarkey, it would be it'd be like P. Diddy being allowed to buy a new mansion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
I just want to put that out there. Allegedly, it would be like P. Diddy buying a new mansion.
Yeah, but Stephanie McMahon comes out to give the customary welcome to WrestleMania, reminding us that last time WrestleMania was in Vegas was WrestleMania 9, and she was 16 years old. Today, on night 2, her middle daughter is the same age, and basically gives a little bit of a speech about how WWE is family, and she is proud to welcome family. Now, before even that kicks off, I think I forget a little bit because I don't normally make notes around this part, but the very first note that I've made on night 2 was we were reminded that Bayley will not compete tonight due to being attacked on Saturday during the pre-show, which obviously affects the women's tag team match later on.
Yes, we have a surprise entrant for that one, I'm guessing, because I've not seen anything announced yet into the position of this one. So when we get to that match, we'll let you know what happens and how it happens. But
now, the other thing I cottoned onto has nothing to do with the women's tag team match. Has nothing to do with any of the in-ring action at all. Actually, was that for night 2 they swapped the announce desks round.
They did, yes. So on the first night, the English-speaking announce table was on the left and the Spanish was on the right. And for night 2, the Spanish was on the left and the English was on the right.
Now, that is a weird move in and of itself, because the Spanish announce desk has always been to the right. As long as I can remember. So to put the English-speaking announce desk on the right and put the Spanish-speaking announce desk closer to timekeepers just made no sense to me whatsoever. But yeah, now we've got all of those little bits of housekeeping out of the way. We're still Las Vegas, Nevada. We're still at Allegiant Stadium, and our first match is the WWE Women's Championship Triple Threat match, which sees Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair versus our current champion, Io Sky.
Yes. Again, WrestleMania Night 2 opening up with a banger like WrestleMania Night 1 did. And, jeez. This was already written up to be one hell of a match, and the build-up has been absolutely phenomenal too. So, I can't see why on paper this wouldn't be a phenomenal start to the night 2 of WrestleMania.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to do it any other way, realistically. But yeah, I mean, the so again, this is they had this in a match in night one. I forget which match it was, but um, traditionally, I think we said it was the challengers come out first with champion to come out last.
No, it was Tiffy and Charlotte.
But they did it with this one as well. Is that Io Sky was the first to make her entrance.
Yes, she was.
Now, Io is entering her third career WrestleMania match. She is 3-0 in triple threat match types and is currently enjoying her 48th day as champion.
Yeah.
I didn't really make any notes on what her entrance was specifically,
I
so
didn't.
I can only assume that means that her entrance was pretty much the same as it always is. Which, yeah,
Yeah,
I
even
mean,
thinking about back to it, nothing really jumped out too much at me about Io's entrance, to be fair.
no, this is it.
I mean, the one thing that got me about Bianca's entrance that I thought was quite cool is that she had her stepdaughter dancing up on the top of the entry ramp, and she went to say hello to her before she went down to the entrance. But yeah, wasn't a huge amount with any of the entrances. To be fair, I mean, even Rhea's was pretty basic. Just a standard WrestleMania, well, standard entrance, I suppose, with that little bit of extra WrestleMania jazz, but nothing too much.
No, this is it, and this is. I mean, when it's Bianca entering second, as you said, joined by her stepdaughter as she enters her fifth career WrestleMania match, and she enjoys a 4-0 match record at WrestleMania itself.
Which is the
And
current women's longest active win streak at WrestleMania.
I think that's just longest active WrestleMania win streak. I don't think there's even a male competitor that has more active victories in a row than
I
Bianca
can't
Belair
think of anyone
currently
off the
does.
top of my head, to be fair. So
No, this is it. And I mean, the only other extravagant thing that Bianca Belair did come to the ring in was that she had a robe made almost entirely out of roses, which I mean, it's probably a good thing she didn't suffer with hay fever, is the one thing that I can
she
think of
almost
off
suffered
the
from
back of that.
a trip when she got her foot caught in it on the parade around the ring after she got in the ring.
Yes, I do remember seeing that actually. And then finally, we are joined by Rhea Ripley,
Real
who
bloody Ripley.
again, her entrance wasn't anything special to speak of, but it was more her entrance gear that sort of grabbed people's attention. She came out ad- adorned in with like a dark veil
Yes,
with a
so
crown of skeletal hands holding this veil up, which I adored. That headpiece was
this was
beautiful.
part of the Clash of Clans thing because over the course of this evening, the the character that she is cosplaying is split over three wrestlers. So she has the headpiece. Uh, Damian Priest, when he comes out for his match a little bit later against Drew McIntyre, has a section of the character on his outfit as well. And then a little bit later on in the evening, the final section of that character is brought out on the outfit of Juan Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, I wonder if that was intentional, those three being selected for that.
Well, I thought it was a Judgment Day legacy head tip, but not 100% sure. Obviously, with Dom still being in Judgment Day and Rhea and Damien being former members, that are no longer there, I thought that might have been what that was. But I could be barking up the wrong tree. It's not the first time that's happened.
No, this is true. But back to Rhea Bloody Ripley. Rhea Bloody Ripley. According to my notes here, she's been a part of every WrestleMania for the last 5 years. So this is Rhea's sixth career WrestleMania, and WrestleMania match where she has never lost a world title match at the show of shows.
Well,
but has a
that
two, but has a 2-2 career record for triple threat matches.
that bodes in nicely on the other hand, where she has never beaten Io Sky. So there's a lot of different statistics lining up here saying we should have a banger of a match.
Yeah, 100%. So,
Without further ado, let's crack into said banger, I think. I think that would be the best way to do this, don't you?
Oh, 100%. So the match begins. I mean, the action comes thick and fast. We've seen it in the match run up to in the run up to these matches coming in. Is that obviously the biggest beef is between Belair and Ripley.
Yeah,
Io's
Io's a
very much
side
pushed
piece
to
in
the
this.
side.
Yeah, well, they've tried to push her out to the side a few times, and she has not been happy about the fact that she's taken the hands of the champ and the challenger. No, sorry, the hands of the two challengers to the face. And to be fair, as champ, I'd be pretty pissed as well.
Yeah, this is it. So put that down. Yeah, like I don't even know where to start with my notes at this point
I mean,
because
I started mine off with the fact that Io Sky hit a Hurricane Rana on Bianca Belair and then a missile drop kick on Rhea Ripley came from the same direction. And that both Bianca and Rhea, when they got an opportunity to go one-on-one after dispatching Io Sky, had basically mirror image waist lock takedowns as Io comes in and starts grabbing hold of Bianca's braid, which we are told is used as a weapon. We saw that in the Elimination Chamber against Liv Morgan, and now it's being used against her.
well, yeah, it's the trade-off, isn't it, with Bianca Belair's braid. Now, I've been fairly vocal about her braid. I don't like it for the fact that it can be used in a weapon it can be categorized as a weapon, but Bianca Belair is able to use that weapon even in no disqualification matches with no
Repercussions.
consequence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is part of her attire. I mean, it's a hell of a thick thing. It is huge as well. It's not exactly a small braid, is it? It is.
Well, you've got to remember
It's got to
how
be the
much
thickness of
damage
a Coke can.
what that braid has done in the past. I mean, look at the injuries that Liv Morgan sustained during the Elimination Chamber. She came out with literal cuts across her
Yeah, blood was
across her
drawn.
stomach
Blood
from
was
that
drawn.
braid.
Yeah,
That
it's
braid
impressive.
it's. I'd go as far as to say it's dangerous. I genuinely don't like it. I get that it's part of her attire, but a majority of it is hair extensions anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, nearly all of it is.
Yeah, it's completely detachable. So it's one of those things that I know that it's something that she's known for, but how that hasn't been a match stipulation at this point that Bianca Belair is not allowed to use her braid is beyond me.
Well, yeah, definitely. Um, She doesn't use a lot of it as a weapon in this match that I remember, to be fair. It is more where it was used against her, which I think is fair game. The same with the NFL. They're not supposed to pull on the hair, but if it comes out from the helmet, I think it's fair game. We do see Io Sky hit a double blockbuster on both Bianca and Rhea for a double 2 count because she tries to pin them both. A show of confidence here, basically just to say, nope, fuck the two of you. I'm the one that's the champion and I'm going to show you why. And this was pretty much her opportunity to do so at the start.
Yeah, this is it, and like so many other moves. I mean, Rhea locks in a prison lock on Io, but is broken up by Bianca, and again, it's like the triple threat from night one.
She hits a razor's edge at one point as well.
Yeah, like plenty of riptide attempts. In fact, one in particular, she tries to hit a riptide on Io Sky, who, as best as I'm able to tell, is quite literally playing possum as she turns that riptide into a spike DDT on Rhea Ripley.
I mean, at one point, Bianca Belair hits a shooting star on Io Sky. That's not a move we see very often these days.
No, it really isn't. I mean,
something tells me we saw it on night one from somewhere, but it's definitely not something we see a lot of, the old shooting star. Not since Brock Lesnar had it to the banned moves list after he almost broke his own neck again, using it.
Yeah, but that's Brock Lesnar. He's the man that was never meant to fly.
Yeah, right.
Io Sky goes for a moonsault to Ripley, but Rhea gets her boots up, which bounces the champ to Bianca, who then hits the KOD, pins, but the pin is broken by Rhea at 2.
There was some great chain wrestling in this match.
Yeah, very much so, and it can be difficult to do. I mean, chain wrestling can be difficult to do from what I can understand when it's just a one-on-one, but when you're dealing in more than one person, and you're trying to chain wrestle between 3, 4, 5, any number of people, it becomes infinitely more difficult because you've all got to be sort of aware and in sync with what everybody else is doing. Because if one of you is even a little bit out, that's when things can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Especially with that famous clip of the 8 men with the old thumb up the arse. That, if they weren't too plugged in with that one, excuse the pun, that could have gone incredibly wrong and we could have had an old X-Pac style injury there. The old torn rectum off the old
turnbuckle. Torn rectums.
Yeah. He can't be the only person that suffered that injury in a ring, surely.
Oh, this is it. But yeah, I mean, the match finish itself, I've got down here after a slugfest between Rhea and Bianca. Belair slips out of a riptide, whips Rhea with the braid, hits a KOD on Rhea for a pin, but it's broken up by over the moonsault. But Io, who pins Bianca to retain her championship.
That is pretty much word for word how I've written it too. So if the two of us have got it that way, that must be true.
Yeah, this is it. It's considering we said that we said towards the beginning of this little bit for this match that we don't really remember Bianca using the braid at all.
She used it once at the very end. Yeah, no, I thought that was going to come back. You know what? It's funny. You thought it, or you said it just as I was thinking it, going, I wonder if anyone's going to pick up on the fact we mentioned the fact of the braid there.
Oh, no. I will always pick us up on anything that we say that turns out not to be right because, yeah, no, it's... I'd rather pick ourselves up on it than anything else. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But no, this wasn't a bad first match to open up WrestleMania Night 2, and to be fair, I think the right result came here. Because we know that either Bianca is going to go into something with Jade Cargill, I think, at some point, due to that triangle of intensity they've got there with Bianca, Jade Cargill, and Naomi. And Rhea is probably not going to get another title opportunity for a while. Be interesting to see who Io's first major sort of feud after this is going to be. I'm sure we'll find out soon, to be fair. There's a lot of women who want to get their hands on that title.
Yeah, this is it. I think we've got a lot to look forward to in the women's division in that particular arena, because it literally is open season at this point. You're right about Bianca Belair. I think she's going to end up having something to do with Naomi and Jade Cargill. She's got to go back and finish the unfinished business over there before she can do anything else.
Yep.
And yeah, Rhea Ripley has had a lot to do with the women's championship for a long time now. I think it's about time that she went and focused elsewhere and gave somebody else a crack at the whip.
I think we're going to get a repackage of Rhea as well.
You think so? You think we're going to lose Mami? And
yeah, I think we are going to get a completely... I think it will still be similar, but I think we're going to get a more badass, heely, brutal Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, this is it. It wouldn't shock me at all. And yeah, but Io Sky, she's an open book. She could literally go against anybody. So I suppose we really have got to wait for Monday night to find out where we go from there. But before we move on to match 2, I'll clear up the celebs in attendance that were revealed during this next section. Flavor Flav, rapper, musician, TV personality, and also a founding member of Public Enemy, as well as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alum. Mirab Devalish Vili, UFC bantamweight champion, and Rich the Kid. I mean, the only one I had any chance of knowing at this point was probably Mirab, the UFC bantamweight champion, but even then, I'm not terribly up on all of UFC at the moment.
Yeah, neither am I, and I didn't know who either of those three were, so I can't really help you with that one.
I recognise Flavor Flav.
Oh yeah, I could recognise the name. I wouldn't be able to tell you what he did. Like, I knew he was a musician, but apart from that, I wouldn't be able to tell you much.
Yeah, but we'll switch it up and go into match 2 from here, I think.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so as we said, match 2 was the Sin City Street Fight, which sees Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. And opening VTs basically documents all the times that Priest has screwed Drew over, and then switches halfway through to Priest basically calling bullshit on the lot of it, which is sort of what we've seen over the last few weeks and months with these two, as their feud seems to have escalated. Is Drew seems convinced that Damian is out to screw him in every way, shape, or form possible.
Yeah, see, I'm not with Drew on this one. I just see Damian taking opportunities that are presented to him because Drew's been too sidetracked by CM Punk.
You see, I can very much see where Drew is coming from. I can see his point of view, but I am very much with you, is that Damian Priest has just been, in terms of everything to do with Drew, it is a case that he's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, you've got to think as well, who trained Damian Priest? He's trained by The Undertaker. When did you ever know The Undertaker to go, oh, there's an opportunity to win a title there? Nah. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, this isn't something Damian Priest is ever going to do. He's not going to pass up an opportunity to take something that belongs to him, but take the easy way to doing so. Cashing in his money in the bank. Did he take the easy way, beating up a half-done Drew McIntyre? Yes. Is it something I would have done myself? Yes. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to take Drew on one-on-one when he's fresh, so you sure as fuck going to know I'm going to let someone else do half the work first, and if all I've got to do is hit a south from heaven and pin him, then that's what I'm doing.
Oh, 100%. So, yeah, we can look at it as the easy way out, or we can look at it for what it is. It's... Yeah.
After taking a
not
title off someone as well, that says to me that they've already lost the mental game. So can I throw them out at the Royal Rumble? Hell yes, I can. Can I eliminate them at Elimination Chamber after I've done them at the Royal Rumble? Yes, I can. Am I in that person's head rent-free now? Going into WrestleMania weekend? Oh, yeah.
So I can, as I said, I can very much see both sides.
But as you can tell, we both want Damian Priest to win because he's fighting on the right side of righteousness.
Yeah, this is it. Now, coming to the entrances, we see Drew McIntyre come in first, and I was actually really pleased with myself for this one because I managed to call it before they told us what it was that was going on stage. Now, this was a case that this was one of the entrances that differed from the main vein, as Rich seems to have cottoned on to, with some of the entrances being Clash of Clans related. This actually, Drew's entrance had nothing to do with Clash of Clans at all. Instead, Drew's entrance was based more so around the new Doom game that's coming out. As Drew came out dressed as a Doom Slayer. Well, I put down cybernetic Doom Slayer, but I'm not sure if it should just be Doom Slayer. That's the only caveat I'll make on that.
I'm not entirely sure myself either, to be fair, but Drew McIntyre looked like the dogs at Dangley's walking down that entrance ramp.
Oh, 100%. It is a look that he very much suited, oddly. It's, yeah. No doubt he was dressed to impress coming down that ramp, and impress that man did.
Oh, yes.
Now,
took him a little while to get out of it when he got to the ring, though. You can see him getting frustrated with some of those arm pads and some of that, some of the attire.
It was very elaborate, though.
It was, but it was very, very cool.
It was very cool, very elaborate, and yeah, probably could have been simplified for ease, but would it have had the same effect if they had done? Probably not. So
I'll tell you what,
yeah.
though, as cool as McIntyre's entrance was, nothing, I think, this weekend was cooler than seeing the guitarist from Slayer, Kerry King, performing Damian Priest's entry music. Like, walking to the ring at WrestleMania to a Slayer solo performed by the man who wrote that solo. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the comparison between both entrances was very sort of night and day. I mean, Drew was coming into his 12th WrestleMania, whereas Damian's only coming into his 4th.
I didn't realise Drew had been around that long. Damn.
You've got to remember, he was also part of a 3-man band at one point, and before he came back as this big muscle-bound brute, he was
3MB. Who was that? Jinder Mahal and
Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, and Heath Slater.
Oh, I wonder what Heath Slater's doing these days.
I have no idea.
Absolutely
no idea.
Well, Heath Slater, if you're listening to the Finishers and Factions podcast, mate, let us know what you're up to these days. We're actually very interested.
Yeah, and if you fancy coming on and having a chat, we'd have a chat with you as well, mate. By all means. We'll figure out a time and a place, put together a special episode. Finishers and Factions interviews the one-man band himself.
That would be cool as fuck.
Wouldn't it just? But yeah, it's a case that Priest comes out adorned with wings, and he is focused to fuck.
I mean, he needs to be. This is a Sin City street fight. This isn't just a standard one-on-one. This is got the potential to be hell on earth, with some severe punishment coming his way.
Yeah, this is it, and yeah, I mean, Damian Priest does not get off to a good start in this match, as I think Drew ends up blindsiding him to begin with.
Well, that wouldn't be a surprise, would it? He also
No,
hits
it
a
really
suplex on him on the entrance ramp as well, and then splits the steel steps, puts one part on the bottom ring, and then throws the other half off the side of Damian Priest's head. And then, to be fair, not long after this, we see Damian Priest go under the ring to see what bundle of goodies he can find. He finds himself a table. And that set the tone for this match, I think. As soon as that table came out, we knew we were going to get the brutality that we were promised from Damian Priest.
Yeah, this is it. And I've got to admit, though, Damian Priest's offense in this match was more or less non-existent to a certain degree. It was he got some early control, but after that, Drew very much took his time in just a systematic breakdown of Damian Priest.
Well, I was a little bit disappointed in this match at some parts. This was meant to be a street fight. This was meant to be something that Damian Priest is known for. And like you said, his offense was lacking. So the brutality in this match, there was brutality, do not get me wrong, but it was not at the level I expected to see. This is WrestleMania, boys. Like, come on.
You think about the street fight that Damian Priest had with Finn Balor.
Right. That I was thinking that with an injection of testosterone and a few other steroids for WrestleMania. Not something that you'd find on a standard, on NXT or possibly Evolve. It was not great quality, I didn't think.
You think about the comparison that they had that you can pull between that WrestleMania match, which they should be pulling out all the stops for, compared with, I think that street fight between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. I think that took place on I want to say a Monday Night Raw.
It was a Monday Night Raw. It wasn't even a PLE. It was a straight up Monday Night Raw. So
so that
it was a main event. Don't get me wrong, but it was literally just a Monday Night Raw episode. There was no special programming for it. And this is WrestleMania. Like, I expected this match to go off, like, especially considering the caliber of the two superstars we have in the ring, and it really wasn't what I was expecting. Well, I didn't get what I expected. I thought it was a very piss poor excuse for a street fight. It's still a decent match, but it just wasn't
a decent match. It could have been a decent no disqualification match.
Yes.
Had they billed it as a no disqualification match, I don't think my expectations would have been as high, even considering who was in it. But because they said it was going to be a Sin City street fight with the Street King Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, that to me was billing it a lot higher than it actually was. And the only person that I can think who would have had that much influence on what was being done in that match, honestly, was Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, there was not a lot of stuff at all from Damian Priest that it kind of felt like Priest was being protected because he's got a big match coming up, or he's just done too much and he needs a break.
Either that, or Drew, when they've gone through sort of planning the spots for this match, have they gone through and come up with a bunch of ideas that Drew's just gone, nah, fuck that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Whereas Finn Balor was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it.
Right, yeah, no, I'll do that. Yeah, no, and that one. Oh, and I'll do that one too. And that one.
Yeah, what if I go a step further and do this instead? I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
if I
if you're
set
happy to
fire
do
to
that,
myself and then jump off the top of that steel cage through like 25 tables into a glass panel, and then you pin me on the broken glass, how does that sound? Where Drew McIntyre's like, oh, so I don't get a safety mat. What? Nah, fuck that.
I know what you're referring to with that. I'm sure it may have been you that sent me the video earlier on today before we sat down and started recording any of this. It was wasn't that a Hell in a Cell match that was took part during COVID? Because it took part during COVID, they were able to direct the cameras where they were because they didn't have a live studio audience to catch them out doing it. Drew takes a bump off the side of the apron onto the floor, but ends up hitting a crash mat. But because it's only the cameras that can tell you what it is that you can see, it is a case that nobody else picked up on it, apart from the fact that the camera never actually depicted Drew hitting the floor.
Stops midair.
It was a championship match between him and Bobby Lashley, I believe.
Oh, Jesus. He's now in AEW as part of
The Hurt Locker.
Yeah, the Hurt Locker Part 2.
But yes, anyway, we'll digress away from there. So yeah, the biggest thing that I got out of this was Priest just doesn't seem to be able to mount much of a comeback.
Got that McIntyre hit a future shock DDT on Damian Priest on the steel steps. And Priest went old school, but McIntyre pushes him off the ropes and he goes through 2 tables on the outside of the ring that he set up earlier on. I think that was probably the biggest spot of the match, to be fair.
It was.
That was the only thing out of the entire match where I was kind of like, oh yeah, the 2 tables. I think that was probably the biggest section of it for me.
Yeah, after that, Drew sort of drags Damian back into the ring, positions his head in front of the wedge chair that Damian Priest set up on that between that top and middle turnbuckle, and delivers a skull-shattering claymore and covers him for the win. Now, the only other thing I note after this is that Drew practically forces the ref to raise his hand in victory, whereas the ref's trying to check that Damian Priest is still alive. But
right.
sort of had to settle for a "Hey Sanka, you did." Damian Priest lying on the floor. Yeah, man.
Kiss my lucky egg. To be fair, Damian Priest did not need the medical attention at that time. That match was not as brutal as it could have been, and I am disappointed in them.
Yeah, I think considering how they've built this up and how physical these 2 superstars can be, it was incredibly underwhelming to have this match end in this way.
Yeah, I at least expected one of them to be slightly covered in some form of claret before the match finished, but with some slight more risk to it. They didn't. For how this was billed to what we were given was false advertising. WWE. I want this match redone.
I don't think that'll happen somehow, but yeah, we'll move on to the next match. But before we do that, we will talk about some more celebs that are in attendance here. One of them is Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions.
Yes,
like you probably know more about that than I would.
It's not a name that I recognised. They probably did give us some information, but Detroit Lions are a team that I don't know a huge amount about. I do know they had an incredible season last season, made at the playoffs, but didn't quite make it to the Super Bowl. But apart from that, I can't tell you much about them.
Fair enough. I know one of the other names that was in here was Daniel Cormier, UFC commentator,
Yeah,
as well as
he used to be a UFC heavyweight champion as well.
okay.
He had
And
some incredible matches, Daniel Cormier.
fair. And the other name that we had was Tony Hinchcliffe, who
The
he had
Kill
his own section.
Tony podcast.
He also had his own section of WrestleMania to host, as he hosted the roast of WrestleMania, which apparently was very good. I don't know where. I may have to go and see if I can find that if I get a spare minute at any point, because I would really love to know what was said during that roast.
I was told that Nia Jax had a rather interesting segment in the roast of WrestleMania, and she basically did what Tiffy Stratton did and ripped the fuck out of her for being 0-3 in weddings.
Oh right, okay.
Apparently, it got
I'm
quite brutal, and Charlotte was quite obviously annoyed.
Yeah, I'm told that Sami Zayn was in attendance at the roast of WrestleMania and had a few interesting things to say himself. So
Would not
yeah,
surprise me at all. Yeah, Tony
but
Hinchcliffe and the Kill Tony podcast is. There is a Kill Tony podcast. Well, there's a Kill Tony special, sorry, on Netflix, which is hilarious. He also did the roast of Tom Brady, which is also on Netflix, and that is just pure comedy gold. 3 hours of just this poor guy being ripped a new one from more angles than Bonnie Blue.
I mean, fair enough. Speaking of which, we'll move on from there, going into match three. But yeah, I don't have anything else for match two, and I'm assuming that Rich does not either.
I don't know, but I do have a little bit of information about match three. That information
Oh, right.
being that match three is a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship between Dominic Mysterio, Penta, Finn Balor, and the current champion Braun Breaker. Woof, 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 woof. So, yeah, no, that is going to be an incredible match three to be able to sit and deal with, and apparently it's the first time that the Intercontinental title is being defended in a fatal four-way at WrestleMania. So,
Yes, that is spot on correct.
I thought that was a cool little tidbit, considering how long we've had the Intercontinental title for and some of the names that have held it. The fact that it's only ever been defended for the first time in a fatal four-way at WrestleMania 41.
Yeah, this is it. So yeah, the VT basically sort of tracks the trials and tribulations leading to this record match. You've basically taken a lot of my notes away from me on that one. Let's have a quick look. I'm playing catch up a little bit.
Well, while you play catch up a little bit, let me take you a little bit further in. So, Braun Breaker goes right after Dom Mysterio to start, but ends up laying a beat down on Penta instead. And eventually, Penta hits a Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio with a crossbody finishes it off with a Rana on Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio goes to the outside as Penta flies over, taking them both out and landing on his feet. Now, this match was going to be a real pain in the ass for us to write about because Finn Balor, Penta, and Dom are very, very fast, and both Dom and Penta have that slight lucha style where Finn Balor is just short, fast, quick, and annoying. And that's just when it comes to writing notes on his matches. Where Bron Breakker, when he gets into a series of chain moves, he flies too. So I had to keep pausing this, and some of my spelling was not great, so I'm trying to decipher some of these notes is actually quite difficult.
Yeah, it was a case that my watching of this match was very stop start. Oh fuck! I need to rewind and.
Yes, that was it. It was like I'd be typing something, I'd hear like a and I'd be like, "Oh shit, what have I missed?" And I'd look up and I'd forget what I was typing, and then I'd end up having to go back, pause, type, and then rewatch, pause, type, unpause, watch, carry on.
Yeah, this is it. So, yeah, again with this match, everybody seems to have a few minutes to get their shit in, and show us what they've got going for them. But I'm just trying to. Yeah, so at one point in this match, I know that Carlito of the Judgment Day seems to make just a random appearance at ringside.
He does. It's the first time we've seen him since the Battle Royale, the Andre the Giant Battle Royale, where he was the first man eliminated by R-Truth, who stole his apple and then had the audacity to throw it at him too.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Classic R-Truth there. Runs in, steals Carlito's apple, eats it, and then throws Carlito out and throws the apple at him. Like, fuck you, take your apple too, bitch.
Just not cool.
It was not cool, and that was pretty much what happened to Carlito. But
yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of all the things we got to see in this match, my favourite move out of it was the Frankensteiner from Bron Breakker on Finn Balor for the 2 count. That Frankensteiner, the way he hits it just looks so fucking evil. It's unreal. Like,
well,
it's so powerful.
Naming it slightly. It's called the Breakensteiner.
But yeah, well, I mean, either way you want to look at it, it is an absolutely ruthless move, and I'm surprised Finn Balor even got up after that, let alone had the ability to take part in any of the match.
Yeah, now, obviously, two members of this fatal four-way. Now, fatal four-way obviously meaning that it's every man for themselves.
Supposed
it is
to be
a case that there's two men in this match, both flying under the same banner, if you like, and that is of course Dirty Dom Mysterio and fucking Finn Balor. It's and it appears, or at least according to my notes, that Dom is actually the first one to break their little alliance that they have going.
He tries to pop a 619 on his homeboy. He sets him up, and as he runs in to hit it, Finn catches him, goes, "I don't fucking think so, mate. Not on your Nelly," and throws him back around. And then we end up with Bron Breakker hitting a spear a little bit later on Penta. Dom hits the 619 on Bron Breakker. And then Finn Balor disturbs the count with a frog splash, and then hits the sling blade on Braun Breaker. I mean, to be fair, the final segment, I might as well finish it off. You go from a sling blade onto Braun, into a basement drop kick. He then goes up top for coup de grace, and then Dom ends up frog splashing the pin attempt from Finn Balor on Bron Breakker, and then Dirty Dom Mysterio pins Finn Balor, his Judgment Day homeboy, to win the Intercontinental title.
Which is his first main roster singles title. He did have a few runs in NXT. He had a run in NXT where he was, I think he was North American champion, possibly North American champion, or NXT men's champion. It was so he's had a few singles titles in other brands, but since he's been in main roster, this is his first main roster singles title. But it's going to be so very interesting to find out what happens in the Judgment Day, within the Judgment Day camp once they're all sort of healed up and Finn Balor gets back to his normal jealous
talking
bitch-ass
about the rest of Judgment Day. For those of you who are wondering where Carlito disappeared to for this final section, Carlito was stood on top of the English announce table at one point towards the end of this match, and Bron Breakker, 16 feet away on the Spanish announce table, bust out what I can only say was spear of the century to put Carly through the announce table and leave him pretty much broken, beaten, and fucked up down by the Prime stand while he lost his title to Dom on the inside of the ring. But yeah, no, Carlito got absolutely destroyed by yet another spear. And this seems to be so Carlito has eaten some massive spears over the last few weeks.
He really has.
That one on the entrance ramp, I want to say 2 weeks ago, where Bron Breakker hit full sprint and hit Carlito and then went straight through him and bounced off down the ramp like Carlito wasn't even there. That makes me shake like Jacob Fatu just thinking about it.
I mean, Bron Breakker is the human equivalent to a Polaris missile. It's like the man's been shot out of a freaking cannon.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's a fucking specimen. I'll give you some Steiner maths, but I'd forget about it.
Do you know what? Out of everybody that could have won this, I genuinely thought if the title was going to drop, it was possibly going to drop to Penta. But similar to the WWE Universe, while I've never been a huge fan of Dominic Mysterio, I can't be mad at him for winning this Intercontinental Championship because, I think he might actually do some decent work with it.
I'm hoping so, to be fair, and I think for Dom to be able to hold this is going to be, it will be make and break. If he does a decent job with this title, you will see Dom with a bigger title within the next couple of years, or even a couple of shots at a bigger title. Whether we see Dominic go on to emulate his dad in a Royal Rumble win at some point, only the future can let us know that one. But I think Dom has the potential to be able to do well with this title, and I think we're going to have some interesting things to do so. And now he's won it off Finn. I think that's going to be the final nail in the Judgment Day coffin. And I think we'll see Judgment Day split with that, with Liv and Raquel going off and staying in the women's tag division. Dom and Finn going off into singles. Obviously, Dom with his IC title, Finn probably going off to chase something. Maybe the United States title. Maybe they ship him out over to SmackDown with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley.
Potentially. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's they may still find some legs for this Judgment because the Judgment Day's got to implode. It's been going that long. There's got to be an implosion. There will be match consequences because of it. It's not going to just fade out.
Well, that could be Finn Dom at maybe Backlash for the IC title then.
Potentially.
Basically, Finn saying Dom shouldn't have been in that match because he didn't earn the opportunity to be there. And then Dom going, well, I still walked out of it as the top champion. If you think you're better than me, let's see who's the best one.
Yeah,
the dickhead versus the degenerate.
That's certainly one way of putting it, I suppose.
You can choose which one's which, but they both fit the categories.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else for that. I will cover celebs in attendance that they did at this part before we move on to the next match. So celebs in attendance we were treated to here. Colby Covington, UFC welterweight fighter.
He is.
Metro Boomin, multi-platinum, 3 times Grammy nominated record producer and songwriter, and Dean Norris from Law and Order Organized Crime. Oddly enough, considering how much of a bit of a I like cop shows and
that was one I've not watched either.
like that. I've not watched any Law and Order at all.
I don't think I've done any Law and Order either, to be fair. No.
I've skirted around it, and I've certainly sat on TikTok on many an occasion and watched excerpts from Law and Order. I think it's Special Victims Unit.
Yeah. And gone, I'd watched that, but I've never actually got round to doing it.
No, I've never sat and watched like a full episode or anything like that. I know that I think a lot of the Law and Orders are on Netflix at the moment, potentially.
And yeah, I think some of them are on Prime Video anyway, so they're definitely easy to get a hold of.
It's going to be something I'll have to give a watch of at some point, but just haven't ever really gotten round to it. It seemed a bit dry from what I've gathered, but I will be honest. I think it may be something that I look at a little bit down the road, maybe.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it at some point. Eventually, I'll have watched everything around it that just leads me to it.
Regardless, we've got match 4 to come up.
We do, but we will get to that in a second. So, our next entrant to the ring is a gentleman that has been at WrestleMania an awful lot of times before and has recently had his match cancelled due to an injury to Kevin Owens. That is correct. I am talking about the Viper Randy Orton, who issued an open challenge on SmackDown, basically saying he would be at night 2 of WrestleMania with his ring gear, and if anyone was brave enough to come down the ramp and catch themselves a guaranteed RKO, he would be there ready and waiting for them. And he then reiterates that whilst in the ring that, who's it going to be? Who's got these big balls that's going to take on Randy Orton at WrestleMania? And the camera pans up to the ramp and we get to see who it is. Adam, what was the big shock at WrestleMania weekend this weekend with Randy Orton's opponent?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk to me about ticket prices.
Not for this one.
Yeah, so, well, he's a certain gentleman that if you say his name, apparently he will appear.
Well, yeah, definitely. We but as of always with this podcast, we can't say his name too loudly because my wife does not believe. That is correct. Randy Orton this year had a match at WrestleMania with the one and only TNA champion Joe Hendry. Now, which TNA championship Joe Hendry is currently holding, I couldn't tell you because I'm not 100% sure. But Adam can. There we go.
He is currently TNA heavyweight champion, so he is the big dog.
I'm confused. I thought that was Moose. Or is he X?
Moose is the X he's X division.
No, okay, that's my bad.
Which is like cruiserweight.
Right, okay. That's what I say. I'm not a consumer of TNA content, apart from what scrolls through my Facebook reels. So yeah, I wasn't 100% sure who the big dog was, or if it was Moose, or if it was someone else.
No, not Moose is a big dog. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the big dog.
No, the big dog is more commonly referred to these days as our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. But yeah, no, he was definitely not in this match. This was just Randy Orton and Joe Hendry, and it was a really, really good opportunity for, I think, for Joe Hendry to showcase himself, the show of shows. And I mean, it was a hell of a pop. I think Joe Hendry got the biggest pop of the evening, to be fair.
100%. I mean, we knew that he was going to be in Las Vegas for WrestleCon, and yeah, there was loads of like all of wrestling seemed to descend upon Las Vegas all at once.
Well, it's known as Wrestle Week for them, isn't it? Because everyone tends to have something going on that weekend, and there's normally a fuck ton of indie shows in the same city as well to keep all of these wrestling nerds happy.
Sounds like a rather expensive week, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was watching a video on the Finishes and Factions TikTok earlier of a young woman who was going through her haul from the WWE world. And there was some incredible bits of merchandise that she'd managed to get her hands on. But the overall amount she spent was more than my monthly rent. So, yeah, that was not going to be something I'd be doing if I went. Well, I say if you're in, for me to go to WrestleMania would be a once in a lifetime opportunity, and hell would have to freeze over for that to happen. But yeah, I probably would spend a fair chunk of cash. Don't get me wrong. Like, without the fact that if I'm only going once, I'm getting the best tickets I can afford. I'm getting a half decent hotel. I'm eating decent food. I'm buying t-shirts. I'm buying vinyl pops, programs, fucking yeah, meet and greets. I'm doing what I can do, but spending that sort of money, I'm good, bro. I don't have that sort of money spare.
Yeah, sort of floor level seats. I think we're sitting around the $30,000 mark, somewhere around there. And there's even videos floating around of the Viper himself being told what the ticket prices were, and even he turned around and said on video, "Yeah, that's insane."
Yeah, but then, especially considering, one point WrestleMania seats were like the top dollar WrestleMania seats were $75. Right, and now you're looking for a $30,000 ticket to sit ringside. I mean, you got to think green t-shirt guy must have saved himself some hell of a lot of money taking that punch from CM Punk.
Yeah, that's a video that's made the rounds on a couple of occasions this week. This week alone.
Yeah, so I found it. I found it today and was like, "Holy crap!" The reason green t-shirt guy is a thing is because he got punched by CM Punk. Punk, can you punch me in the face, please? I'd love ringside seats for the rest of my life at WWE events.
Yeah, 100%.
Or
Bring
even
it on.
Stone Cold, if you want to drive your ATV in my general direction, I can sell a move pretty well.
Yeah, you should see what he can do with a taser.
Oh, fuck off. That is not going on the Finishes and Factions TikTok. 1,000 followers on the TikTok and I will upload that video.
That's it. Rick versus a taser.
Yeah, if you want to see what happens when the co-host of Finishes and Factions meets 50,000 volts, you're going to have to do me 1,000 followers. Adam's like, I'm half tempted to put my hand in my pocket and buy a load now.
No, I'm really not, because I know how expensive they are.
Yeah, those promote functions are not good. But yeah, no, this match definitely was a definite promotion for the man from Edinburgh, Scotland. And I believe the first time a non-WWE superstar has appeared in a WWE ring at WrestleMania as a competitor, like a booked competitor, rather than someone jumping out the crowd and kind of interfering and then being like, "Oh, this guy works for such and such," and getting carted off down the back.
Yeah, you're not too far wrong there, I don't think. I haven't done the research to be able to say one way or the other, but yes, definitely something along those lines, I feel. But yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic opportunity to showcase Joe Hendry. I'm not going to deny that at all. I feel that the match itself could have been more competitive. It felt a little bit squashy to me, not going to lie. I sort of, now that I've had chance to almost reflect on it a little bit, I do sort of understand why they've done what they've done to a certain extent, but I just don't think it should have been at the expense of the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I feel they could have got somebody else who could have had a similar match and done what was needed to be done.
Okay, so I'm going to have to take my statement right back because according to the information I've just seen, a gentleman called Kenichiro Tenrue was a Japanese wrestling legend that appeared at WrestleMania 7. Might be WrestleMania 12, actually. Anyway, 1991, and ECW stars Sabu, Sandman, and Tommy Dreamer participated in WrestleMania 23, which was 2007. And then, yeah, Joe Hendry this time round. So actually, yeah, we've had a fair few non-WWE wrestlers compete at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which sort of makes it just that little bit more slack. The fact that they
I've seen
they did
that.
our boy like that.
And then, apart from the fact that he managed to get a knockdown and a neck breaker on Randy Orton, and he did attempt to choke slam at one point, and Randy just kind of
I
gave him
don't
this
really
really
understand.
weird look and then poked him in the eye. Like, who the fuck
Yeah, I
does
don't
Joe
really
Hendry
understand.
think he is trying to choke slam Randy Orton?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what was going on with that. I will be honest. It didn't necessarily make sense.
And he did have a fall away slam as a reversal to an RKO as well. But considering that he did get a few bits in, he it wasn't long before the WrestleMania appearance made him a little bit starstruck, and he did his classic spin and pose to eat what, and this was promised, that whoever came to the ring was going to eat those three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment, and Joe Hendry ate them very well. But yeah, he did eat that RKO eventually, and Randy Orton did manage to pull off the 3 count for the win in this one. Which I thought this was huge for Joe Hendry, but I think they did him dirty the second time round. So after Hendry, after he was finished, he's kind of sat in his arse on the floor, like, what the fuck just happened there? Randy Orton picks him up, dusts him off a little bit, raises his hand to the crowd, really bigs him up a fair chunk. And then he hits him with a second RKO.
I mean, it is very on brand for Randy Orton to do something like that. He's not
certainly is
known for giving. He's not known for giving flowers for the sake of giving flowers, so to speak. There is normally a wind up and a pitch to it, but yeah, it just again it felt the match itself just felt very squashy. I feel like it could have been kinder in how it was put together, in terms of Joe Hendry himself as a superstar, considering how closely together now TNA and WWE are working with NXT.
Yes.
It's a case that it just, it was played off it could have been a lot kinder to Joe Hendry in in my opinion. That is how I feel. Other people may feel differently about it, and that's their choice.
It has been released since this match that we have been promised by Triple H that we are going to see Joe Hendry at WrestleMania again. Now, whether that is due to their TNA connection that they have going currently, or whether that is because as soon as Joe Hendry's contract is up with TNA, Triple H is going to come in and offer him a big fat check. I personally, and this is going to sound really sort of dumb considering how big a name Joe Hendry has turned himself into, do not want to see him sign with WWE. I think if he stays with TNA, he can continue to be a bigger star. But if he goes to WWE, he's going to get sucked in with the rest of the stars there and just be another average guy, and it will ruin him. Where if he stays at TNA where he is, he's the top guy there, he's a big guy there, and, you know, I think it would be better for him to stay there. I'd rather see him at WrestleMania as part of their TNA contract than have him there as a WWE superstar.
Yeah, and me and you have discussed this off podcast already, but and I'm very much in agreement with you, is that I think the only way that Joe Hendry would work, and even then it's very, very tenuous, so to speak. The only way, in my opinion, that Joe Hendry works in WWE is if they keep him in NXT, which almost feels like a shame for how big a star Joe Hendry is.
Yeah, I'd feel like guilty. It'd be like a punishment. Yeah, welcome to the biggest wrestling company in the world, but we're going to shove you on what used to be our developmental brand.
Yeah, it just feels wrong.
You get sent to NXT if you fucked up. If you've gone to main roster and you're making appearances on NXT, you've fucked up somewhere. Like, you've done something you shouldn't have done, you've pissed the wrong person off, and they're getting back at you and going, you know what, go and spend a couple of weeks in NXT dealing with the noobs. Right? And I think, or what they do is they build you up into a really, really amazing storyline, make it look like it's going to be one of the best WrestleMania matches on the world, pull you out of that storyline, throw you into another random storyline, give you a half-decent WrestleMania match, and then pull you out of it the day before for a returning legend to make an appearance.
Oh, now that feels loaded.
Well, I can't say too much about it. Can't say too much about it without giving away an awful lot. But yeah, there was definitely some heat behind that candle.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that in just a few moments. I think if we move on to the next one, we've sort of we've played out Randy versus Joe Hendry.
We have.
Let's see where we go from here.
Well, I can tell you where we go from here, and I'll do it in just 1 second.